I want to take this moment to thank you all for being here to listen to leaders from across the country who are joining us in this moment to give the people's response to what we are hearing tonight. As mayors, and particularly you have just heard from the great Mayor Fry. Y'all give it up one more time for Minneapolis Mayor Fry. Like Mayor Fry, we know very well what's at stake in this moment. We don't have the luxury to just listening to the president speak in abstract. When I heard his words and as we listened to his rhetoric, many of these words are just ramblings and incoherent phrases of nothing. And all I can think about is, of course, Chicago and the working people across America. I thought about the families who I met across the city, the single parents who get off work and go straight to the food banks as soon as they get off work because the ends no longer meet and their food assistance has been cut by this callous administration. When the president spoke of the wealth and prosperity of our country, he left something out that's critical. He left out that the wealth and prosperity is more and more concentrated in the hands of the few. See, we don't see that wealth in the neighborhood that I live in on the west side of Chicago, where chronic disinvestment and neglect has led to unemployment rates as high as 50%. He left out that in the wealthiest city, in cities across this country, there are too many people who are still left behind, where 1 in 4 students in our public schools in Chicago do not know where they're going to sleep tonight. And instead of addressing the urgent problems of poverty and disinvestment, instead of restoring the funding that he has cut from healthcare and food assistance, instead of doing anything to address the cost of living crisis, the fact that the rent is too high and wages are far too low in this country, this president spoke of an America that does not exist for hundreds of millions of Americans across this country. Now, maybe in the small class of corporate executives and billionaires who the president calls his closest friends, maybe those folks are experiencing an unprecedented prosperity in this country. But I can tell you that working people of this country are watching our education funding get cut. They are watching our tax dollars go to foreign wars. And they are fed up with this corrupt, backwards, out of touch administration. Are you fed up, America? We have seen the largest upward concentration of wealth placed in the hands of the ultra-rich. It was Justice Brandeis that said 100 years ago, the first Jewish American to sit on the Supreme Court, that you can either have a democracy or wealth in the hands of a concentrated few, but you cannot have both. We know this is nothing new, though. Throughout history, our nation, the privileged and the ultra-wealthy have sought to turn us against one another, hoping to split us along lines of race, class, gender, and national origin, rural and urban, white, black, documented and undocumented. And Trump has taken it one step further. He has declared war on poor and working people in this country, fear-mongering about our nation's cities in order to justify his attacks. But despite his violent rage, we stopped this president from deploying the National Guard in the streets of Chicago. And as long as I'm mayor of Chicago, we will never accept the militarization of our cities. You see, he claimed that he was doing it to make our cities safe. But the truth is that under our leadership, Chicago has driven violence down to the lowest levels in 60 years, the fewest amount of homicides in 60 years. When Donald Trump describes our city as a war zone, He isn't just misrepresenting Chicago, he's undermining efforts by working class people across the country who are proving real safety is derived from investment, opportunity, collective responsibility, not intimidation, nor militarization. And as soon as it became clear that he could not fully militarize our city, Trump turned his sights and his rage on some of the most vulnerable people. As immigrants in Black communities have been targeted, as families have been violently separated, neighborhoods terrorized with tear gas on the streets and Black Hawk helicopters overhead, homes raided and destroyed, but Chicagoans, we stood up and we wrapped our arms around one another because we know that together we can build safe communities for all. And the far right have learned very quickly that we know what we're doing. Immigrants and descendants of the enslaved who migrated from the South, we make up the soul of Chicago, and we refuse to be broken. And from the very beginning, the story of Chicago has been a story of diversity. Our city was established by a Black Haitian immigrant and a Potawatomi woman. That legacy carries on today, and we will continue to defend our city. And through neighborhood rapid response networks, legal aid for impacted families, and mass demonstration on our streets, Chicagoans have come together, standing up for our neighbors and pushing back against Trump's terror. We will not bow, we will not cower, we will not submit to the tyranny that is coming from the White House. Because tyranny is a virus and we cannot allow it to take root, because Trump's war is a war on all of us. Chicagoans are meeting this moment, pursuing any means necessary to protect our residents. And since our fight began, I've said that if Congress will not hold Trump accountable, then Chicago will. And tonight I'm calling on cities across America to join us in our fight for true accountability, to protect the soul of America, to defeat the hate and division which has fueled Trump's mass deportation campaign. We must fight his attacks, particularly his attacks on public accommodations, where the demands of those who were formerly enslaved fought for education and housing, healthcare, transportation, and good paying jobs. We have to defend the very honor of these institutions that people fought and died and bled for. You see, he has defunded the social safety nets that feeds our children, that houses our veterans and provides medical care to our elderly. And these attacks are designed to break our spirit. But in the words of a great psalmist, he will not break our soul. Because Donald Trump and his allies, they know where our true strength lies. Our strength is in our solidarity with one another. And despite what the president has said tonight, the strength of our union does not trickle down from the top, but it is built from the ground up. When we come together, the promise of America can be realized. And I believe this because we've done it before. Resistance must be as expansive and unyielding as the threats that we face. And yes, that includes marches and principled civil disobedience, but it also looks like teachers refusing to erase banned books and the history of resistance that they want us to forget. It means neighbors stepping up to support food banks when families are under attack, medical professionals being allowed to provide reproductive care, and communities protecting the integrity of our elections. Because when the federal government targets any of us, they are targeting all of us. We must answer this moment with united action, moral clarity, and determination that cannot be divided, intimidated, or turned back. The terror that we've seen in our streets was designed to provide cover for a long-term effort by the ultra-wealthy to render the future resistance to be futile. We cannot allow an environment where this wickedness is allowed to ferment. working people, we are demanding the very things that make our communities thrive. We're demanding good paying jobs, well-funded public education, safe communities, truly affordable homes, and a better future for our children. These are the very same demands that our ancestors fought for. Black, brown, white, Asian, young, old, across this country, we are demanding justice for the working people of this nation. Now, in closing, these demands mean something in this moment, you all. As Donald Trump brags about the interests of corporations, 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs because of this administration. His attack against the very sensibility of our people is real. And I'm reminded of a great man, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who came to the west side of the city of Chicago and began to organize and look power in the face and demanded more for our nation. When Dr. King left Chicago, he turned it over to our latest fallen ancestor, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. You see, it was Reverend Jackson who had a vision of the Rainbow Coalition, that we could remake our cities and remake America and transform the world, that his love was so proud and that he could see somebody in everybody. And this is our call today, to hold the torch and walk the path towards justice and liberation. Reverend Jackson told us to keep hope alive because hope lives in our resistance. Hope lives in our fight for humanity, and hope lives in our unity. We need to stand together to ensure that we put an end to the mass deportations. We must put an end and abolish ICE and say no to the dangerous escalations of the war against Black and brown people, and to demand that large corporations and the ultra wealthy, they have to pay their fair share in taxes. Are you with me, America? There's a bridge for us to cross. When our people crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they knew that hate was going to look them in the face. But we are not afraid of the hate, because on the other side of the bridge, we are guaranteeing health care for everyone. On the other side of the bridge, we are declaring public education for everyone. On the other side of the bridge, we are demanding good paying jobs, access to transportation, and demanding that the ultra rich have to finally pay their fair share in taxes. Dr. King said that if we can build a movement in Chicago, we can do it anywhere in the world. Well, we are doing it in Chicago. We are doing it in Minneapolis. We are doing it in Baltimore, Los Angeles, Detroit, Buffalo, Birmingham, Atlanta. This country will finally realize its true nature, justice for all. God bless you all, and God bless this country. Thank you all. Thank you so much.